Mike, you know we got a podcast or anything, but I was just wondering if we could take the next 40 minutes. I actually prepared this PowerPoint all about why I think Dollmaker's Shop Portrait Gallery is the best card in Dustboard. Do you think we have time for that?
Welcome back to the podcast. We do not. Sorry, no, definitely not. As always, it is Mikey, and with me, as always, is
Your boy Millzy.
That's right.
I love when I do this and I have no muscles. It's great.
Oh my gosh,
it makes me feel great about myself.
What did I do? We were watching it at my house, I think, on the TV, and Monica walked in, my wife, and she was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "We're watching Millzy," and she was like, "What does that even mean?" And I was like, "He does that like every video. I don't know why."
It's a whole intro. I get yelled at for it. It's great.
True, very true. She's like, "What do you do? What is your your saying with it?" I don't even remember. What is up, YouTube? That's what you do.
Yeah, it's my thing. I say it in person too all the time. It annoys people. I'm just kidding.
So good, I love it.
Yeah, well, second episode back finally. After too long of a hiatus.
Yeah, that's not anybody's fault or anything.
We definitely tried other people on the podcast. We definitely tried this one more time. Now it's a great world out here. But hey, you know what? You know what's in right now?
What?
Commander podcast. So that's what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
I have no basis for that.
I was like, where are we going?
They probably aren't in right now. We're probably the only people doing it, but that's fine.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure...
other relevant...
I'm pretty sure Command Zone put out one.
No relevant other Commander podcasts exist.
Sounds,
it's just us.
Sounds great. What are we talking about today, man?
Well, as it turns out, if you thought the last episode about cards getting banned and our... I guess what I would call brisk walk through Duskborn.
Last episode, everybody else talking about it. If you got on Reddit or if you're angry.
If you thought just the banned cards was enough, well, a week after that, we got an announcement that Wizards themselves was taking over control of the Commander format, not EDH. Commander.
Yep. I actually liked Trinket Mage. Link in the description. Shout out.
Oh,
cool guy.
We're linking people now.
I will, honestly. He's worth it. He made a video that said that EDH is dead, and I was like, dang, he's out. And
is it technically dead?
And then, yeah, he was just talking about that EDH is no more a thing. They're really pushing this Commander thing, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, like, that's the way Wizards always branded it, right? Like, we've always looked at it EDH, right? Like EDH Rec and the website, right? But
I mean, it literally
Wizards always
Elder Dragon
has always called it Commander. It's always been Commander pre-constructed deck. It's always been, play Commander at your LGS. It's always been Commander to them. So I think it's true. EDH did die in a sense. I think my biggest question with Wizards taking over Commander, and I heard somebody talk about this on a podcast, and I think it's been all over Reddit. I'm not the first one with this individual thought. I just hope I can speak into it. Is what happens with CDH now? Because that is a format basically driven by proxies, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that was a community that was more than into proxies because they understood that some cards are expensive. And not only that, but you may want to have multiple decks or things like that, and those cards are expensive. What I find interesting about that is we have yet to hear what Wizards' plan is for Commander as a whole. Right. But obviously for tournament Magic play, right, Wizards generally frowns upon proxies. I know that's crazy, right? So I'm intrigued to find out what the plan is. I'm not saying the CDH is dead. In fact, I think CDH will thrive no matter what happens to regular Commander. I just wonder what take, if any at all, Wizards is going to have to it.
Yeah, I think that I honestly think they'll just keep it as it is. What I'm really thinking they're going to dive more into is probably more bans, more unbans, stuff like that.
What I really would love to see happen is CDH take control of their own format and make it its own thing. It's kind of always been its own thing anyway.
It definitely has. I just listened to too many people, I think. I was watching a CDH video, and at the beginning of it, they were like, yeah, we're not going to talk about the bans today, but because we're going to do that in a earlier episode or whatever.
And then they talked about the bans.
Well, no, that they were talking about is there are some people in the CDH, in their CDH community who are like, everything's fine, it sucks, but but it's different for CDH than it is for your casuals, because CDH, it being a tournament style format or whatever, you get excited when you have this big change happen. It's like when we play Standard, we get excited when when it rotates.
Well, not only that, but like 2 pieces of like 10 plus pieces of fast mana got hit.
Yeah.
It's not, for them, it's like any other tournament format where your decks just evolve. And in fact, I heard multiple CDH creators say it probably just going to end up being better. People are going to be forced to actually play different things, and that's fine. You know, I will shout out the Command Zone, because I thought they brought up a point that I hadn't thought about, which is, or sorry, no, I apologize. It was the EDH Rec podcast. They talked about, does Wizards, now that they have control of the format, you know, can they unban any of these cards now? Can they unban any of the old cards or any of the new cards? Are they going to put their stamp on the format and change it? And their thought, and I believe it was Josh's thought, was they have one chance to do it. Right?
Yeah.
You have one chance to unban anything you want to or ban anything you want to and say, this is us course correcting. Right? Like, they could just, I mean, it would be, kind of feels bad, but this is their one chance to, let's say they want to unban Jeweled Lotus and say, okay, we want it in our format, but we're also going to unban Primetime, or we're also going to unban Coalition Victory or whatever, but we're going to also ban these 3 cards. You know, he's like, this is your time to just take your shot without really having much backlash.
Yeah, because we're already seeing the backlash, so it's like you can't really burn something.
But their philosophy, which I agree with, which was you don't have a ton of time to do it, though.
Well, they said they were going to release something in November?
I think their whole thing was like,
Vegas?
you don't have 6 months to make this decision.
Yeah.
But if you come out in 3 weeks and say, okay, this is us reigning in the format, we're taking control of it, this is our thing, I'll be honest, I don't care either way. Like, I think, obviously, there are cards on the ban list I've spoken about multiple times that can come off the ban list. I think it's really funny that right after I made my short about the new ban list, I got a lot of comments on my short about the 3 cards I thought could be unbanned. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But at any rate, I'm intrigued to see what Wizards is going to do. Did we really talk about the level format at all for the decks?
No, because we chose not to.
The truth is, because we really don't know. Like,
Yeah.
we've been given these veiled shots at what it might be. You know, they showed off 1 or 2 extra cards for each of these levels, you know, in their weekly MTG stream. I just don't know what it is. I don't really want to speculate on it, because I don't. For example, it's not going to change our play group at all. So I'd rather make more of my professional opinions on it when we hear more about it.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it in our group chat over the past week, and I was trying to... I wanted to bring up a hot take. I think it was yesterday I said this, and I literally wrote out like a huge message, deleted it, wrote out another huge message, deleted it, and wrote out a third one.
We're basically just all going to play
it.
2s now. We just decided, why play Commander when you can just play 2?
Right?
What's interesting is, I don't remember the name of the website off the top of my head. I will have Mikey link it in the description below. I'll find it again and send it to him. But there's actually a gentleman who made a site where you can actually paste your deck list in, and it takes your deck list and rates it based on a ton of different factors. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't one of those meme like, oh, my deck's a 7s. I actually went and took all 4 of my main decks and I put them in, because I was intrigued to see what rates what.
Yeah.
I think if I recall correctly, Sirac and Goreclaw was about a 7.6.
This is out of 10.
Out of 10, yeah.
Okay.
Jetty was about a 7.2. Layla was like an 8.1. And then Ovika was like an 8.3. And I was intrigued to see what the difference was, because I think those 4 decks are all different enough that they give a good spread. I mean, obviously, you as the listener may not know those deck lists. You can see them up, though they're coming up on the channel here over the next few weeks, me updating them all, but or they'll be out probably by the time you see this episode. But it rated it on different scales, how fast you can hit your ideal amount of mana, how often are you being mana screwed, how often are you flooding, you know, those different types of things. I'm not saying it's like a be-all, end-all tool for understanding your deck, but I thought it was interesting to paste my deck list in there and kind of see what data it used. And the person was on Reddit, on the EDH subreddit, and basically said, this is my tool, I'd love to hear feedback. And that's cool as well, right, that you're getting feedback from people. I'm not saying that this is like the way you should rate your decks or talk about your decks for a Rule Zero conversation. I'm just saying it was kind of interesting to see what data would tell me about my deck. I mean, you could see similar data on like Moxfield or Architect.
Yeah.
When you put your decks in, it'll give you right? Your mana curve, it'll give you your representation of percentages of mana color and how often you should, do X or Y. So it's just interesting that these tools are coming out that are ways, just different ways to look at, your deck or the way that you've built your deck. I think my only problem with those tools are it doesn't always represent what your deck wants to do, because I think a white weenies deck that's only going up to 4 mana maximum, only having 34 lands is not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. But one of those sites may tell you that you're underplaying lands. So it's one of those things where sometimes those tools can be kind of
nitpicky, I guess is the word.
Well, I think the problem is when you rate anything on a bell curve or an average, scale, the outliers don't get represented. And I think we play a format now where it seems like most niche commanders and most strategies are their own niches. Like a landfall deck is going to purposely play more lands, right? Whereas an artifact deck or something like that might purposely play a few less lands so they can play more mana rocks or more, what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like, these things as your deck change. And so it's interesting to talk about that, you see when they rate precons, they'll talk about how many cards of certain things that they have. It's always been interesting to me because I'm like, every deck's different. I think, if I was building like that winter precon from Duskborn that cares all about dumping things into your graveyard, I think the amount of artifacts and enchantments might be similar amount because I'm trying to get as many of this, different types as I can into the graveyard.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm building a rooms deck from Duskborn, I'm trying to slam as many enchantments in there as I can. So I think it's just to me it's interesting times. But I bring that all up to say that to me, some of this data is still what drives me sometimes to build decks. There's times where when I'm building a deck, I think about this stuff, not because I feel like I have to hit a cookie cutter mold of what a deck's supposed to look like, but it's what drives me as a brewer. What is it about this deck that matters?
Yeah.
Is it the ratio of cards? Is it getting the right cards? Is it building the right sub-engine of cards that run a deck? I think when I look through my main decks over the course of time, cards have changed, but the engine, the cards that run the deck, have stayed the same.
Yeah.
So for me, it's what I think drives me more often as a brewer rather than that is just coming up with an idea and making it work. I think that's what makes all brewers tick, right? Is you have this idea and you're trying to make the idea,
of course,
work. And I think I saw a lot of people over the last 2-3 weeks who, I'm done with Commander, I'm quitting Commander, or the format's not the same, or the format's dead, and I'm like, I don't think that at all. I think the format's still thriving, and our card pool grows every month because there's always something coming out. And as a brewer, as someone not only who just brews for the channel, but also tinkers for myself, it just makes me want to brew more.
Right.
It makes me want to try the strategies I've never tried. To me, I look at the Duskborn precons themselves. You have a landfall-based deck that cares about face-down creatures, which is kind of off the wall, but it is
very
interesting.
Different, yeah.
You have a Valgavoth Pingers deck, which is cool. We did get a commander in the last 2 years for that, but we didn't get a precon for it, so that brings that into new light. Great reprints for either Obnixilis or Valgavoth, whichever side of that kind of style you're playing. You've got a winter self-mill deck, which is not something I feel like we've done in a precon that I can remember.
Maybe a long time ago with Mirren when she was in the precon, but I don't even know, honestly.
So that's pretty cool. And then you have Amanatu as an enchantments deck that cares about Miracle, which is, I don't think, a mechanic we've really ever cared about, except the last time that Amanatu headed up a deck. But the difference now is at least you're getting the reduction, which makes her more palatable because there's more things you can put in it. And so not only do I say, well, there's always commanders coming out every set, but look at these precons. These precons are so different. Even look at Bloomborough. Bloomborough had precons that were even different. It's where's it just giving us all these things? It's a brewer's paradise, in my opinion, out here now. And so it's that's what drives me to keep going, even for the channel. I never once lost my steam. I never once said Commander's dead. I was like, man, cool, we lost a couple cards. In fact, I think there was only literally one deck on the channel that got affected, and that was literally Nadu's deck.
Nice.
I was worried that I put Nadu in my Felkus Spara build, but I don't think I did. My Spara Birds build. Very sad. That one wasn't affected. But it's it just goes to show you that there's plenty of ways for us to play this format and enjoy it, without the top tier cards. Yeah. And it just keeps me pushing to want to play more. And then, like, for my personal decks, it's like, what can I learn? I mean, I've said multiple times to everyone in our friend group and on this channel that I learn from every game of Commander I play. Whether it's something about my deck that I need to change or I can make better, or even just personally, what can I learn? Oh, I didn't know that's how that interaction worked. Or I'm going to look that up because I'm not sure how that interactions work. We had a situation the last time we sat down and played Commander with Strixhaven Stadium.
Yeah.
Where I managed to trigger with Ovika enough times that we had to look it up and go, yeah, if there's sufficient amount of triggers to run it through up to its 10 counters and trigger to have someone lose the game, it will trigger that many times. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I built that functionality into that because I thought it was how it worked. But sometimes it's not until you physically make it play out.
Yep.
And you don't understand how something like that works. So I think it's just kind of those things are just, they push me to keep going.
Yeah, man. I can tag into that, I guess. So for me, I joked the past couple
Here because he's being paid for it. That's
100%. No, not a single cent. So I've joked over the past couple of weeks of just kind of I always, and if you've watched a few episodes with me and whatnot, you probably have figured out I like to just say something really off the wall and spicy just to kind of keep things fun. If you watched last episode, we talked about how Millzy and we kind of threw blows at each other in our own chat.
In the group chat. And
it was just for fun, really. I even texted him separately and said, like, that's not, anything towards you, negative or anything.
I told him pull up. Let's go.
He did.
I told him pull up. Let's go.
No, it was a good conversation, though. And that's why I wanted to keep it going. It was a debate, yes, but it was a debate that both of us understood that, like, we're not trying to, like, rip each other's head off. But all that said, I think what really drives me is the fact that we do have a community. We do have a group of players that enjoys playing. We had a situation this morning where it didn't pan out that well, but that's okay. It's fine. We'll get them next time. But
I think the privilege we have is that we have enough people to make a pod happen.
Yes.
And it's okay if it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
It's okay if a time frame doesn't happen. That's the problem of a format where you got to get enough people together.
Right.
But that's okay. I mean, it's one of those things where I think we're very privileged to have the group that we have, and we have to remember that that's a privilege and that it's something that we kind of get to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I know there are players out there who don't have that privilege. And so it's easy to kind of, I think sometimes it's easy to get mad, or it's easy to kind of get some feelings about things, but we have to remember that, like, we have that privilege, and we've had this privilege for a long time. This has been a group that's been to some degree together for over 2 years, if not longer than that. So it's one of those things where it's like, we got to remember that, like, we have a good group going.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's easy to get mad that certain days don't happen, or you miss a week or something like that. But it's like, you just got to be okay with it. You got to be okay with it, and you got to let it go off your back and move on out. The nice part now is that you have local game shops. You have, Spell Table online. There's so many ways to play the game now. It's not just, it's not as hard as it used to be.
Yep.
I'm intrigued to see if Wizards will use Spell Table at all, or if they'll recommend more things like that for the game rather than just going to your local game store. Because I think, unfortunately, local game stores have gotten kind of the short end of the stick from Wizards over the last couple of years with COVID and just the mess that's been involved with that. But I would recommend that if you have a local game shop that does play Commander and you don't play Commander somewhere else, I would recommend you go. Try to be a part of it. For sure. Not only just try to be a part of it, but be the player that people want to play with. Go be the person who encourages good games to happen, and foster the best games you can. I say that as someone who sometimes doesn't always have a good night, right? Sometimes you have bad nights playing Magic, but I try my best to always encourage the people around me, even if I'm having a bad night. Hey man, that play was great, or man, that deck did really well, or that looked really cool. It's not just about you winning, right? I've always found that when I encourage you guys come back with more of a fire, and you want to keep going, and you want to keep pushing, rather than me just saying, my deck was crap, so it was crap.
Well, that's what's going to lead me into this. Is like, don't be afraid to play what you want to play. Like, as a person who has enjoyed playing blue over the past few times, or enjoyed just being not necessarily a threat, but just a menace at the table, in a good way, like with Ob Nixilis deck, or my Ob Nixilis deck, like, it's constantly pinging people, it's constantly doing damage, so it's bringing the game to an end faster. And a lot of people are realizing when they play against that deck, that's like, oh, if we get rid of the pinger, then we won't die. And it's like, okay, cool, but that means that person won't die, and that person won't die either. So it's fine, because I have to constantly vocalize my point of like, hey, yes, I'm doing damage to you, but I'm also doing damage to your other opponents as well. Remember that. Or you found
my situation the last game, which was I'll just keep Bob off the table.
Exactly.
You're welcome to ping me as much as you want to, but I'm gonna kill you before you ping me.
I was about to say, yeah.
So, like,
it's like even if you're getting pinged for that 1, 2, 3. I mean, I had like 5 different
or into
triggers.
some decks, you realize that your 18 Ob Nixilis in the sky isn't gonna save you from the amount of creatures that are coming at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
which is fine. I mean, see, that's the thing. I was like,
But that's my approach. Right? I think the difference is that's who I am as a player. I'm always like, cool, okay, well, if you want arms race, let's arms race.
Right.
Because, at the end of the day, I've told you multiple times talking about different decks or different matchups, it's like, I may not be able to stop you, but I'm going to race you.
Yeah.
And good luck. You know what I mean? Because
and that's another thing, too. Like, if you have another player, like, Millzy and I have realized that we both are, like, pretty competitive towards each other and whatnot. We like to push each other in our table, and I think that's okay. Don't be afraid if another random shows up and, like, both of y'all are being competitive. Kind of explain that.
Still gotta be respectful.
Yes,
though. Like, you
explain that during the game though. Be like, yeah, man, that was a great play. I'm coming after you though next time, or something like that. Something simple.
There's ways to kind of meme about it and joke, but like,
sure.
I think the difference with us is we know it, and so even if it may look a little BM, outside, like it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I could definitely, if we were at a random table and we had 2 randoms playing with us, there's probably times where we'd be like, man, you guys really don't like each other. You guys really going after each other.
It's like, did y'all drive together? Yeah, we did.
We did. I'm not taking him home. He's stuck here.
But yeah, I've enjoyed our community, and I think that's what continues to drive me.
I just released a short. At the point this podcast comes out, it'll be a couple weeks back. But I released a short for Grievous Wound, the new card from Duskborn, that whenever you hit a player, they lose half their life. And I said it's always good when a player in your play group sends you a spoiler for a card and said, I can't wait to use this on you.
Yeah.
And that was Roy for both Grievous Wound and for Unstoppable Slasher.
Yep.
That new one. And I was like, ooh, I can't wait. Because I love it when people are like, I'm coming after you with this. And I'm like, all right, that's what drives people to like want to.
And we had that same scenario.
And I've even noticed with different people, like if they get frustrated with a deck or maybe they're not seeing results, there have been times like, I really like that deck. I think you should keep trying. There's something there. Yep. And I've noticed multiple people sometimes will come back to it and go, okay, well, he said he liked it and he thought something was there. Maybe I'd give it a shot.
Right. Yeah.
And I've seen people bring decks back and like try them again and actually like them because they're willing to give it a second shot. I think testing decks is so hard sometimes because you're not really quite sure what you're looking for. But I think when the players around you say, hey, you got something there, or like, hey, maybe try this, or like consider that, or like really think about what you want this deck to do, and I think it could be better. I think it pushes people to like.
We had a similar scenario this past week in our chat, and what was it when I was talking about stacks and stasis and whatnot, or something like that, and then you were like, oh, okay, I do something with my deck, but Thomas put stasis in a deck and he's a freaking hero, or whatever.
I was like, I take one extra turn, but Thomas puts stasis in his deck and he's the hero. I don't know.
And then to continue,
and then everyone in the chat was like, no, the turn was worse. And I was like, okay, all right.
And then our friend Josh memed my face on Captain America, and I started changing that as my profile picture, and then put.
So then I joked that I said Thomas could put stasis in a deck. But I put Cathar's Crusade in a land, and suddenly I'm no longer welcome at this Denny's. And so he put my picture, my head over Cathar's Crusades. That's my picture in our chat now.
So he's a Crusader, and I'm Captain America now for Cathar's Crusade and Stasis. But to continue on that too,
that Stasis, that was a deep joke. I don't think people got.
Oh no,
some
it
people right didn't get.
No, it was great. It was so good. It was so good. And then continue like so. That same friend, he actually was like, well, I put a card literally in my Knights deck just to deal with Roy's Assassin deck. And then Roy was like, what'd you put in there? And he was like, I don't know, should I keep it a secret? And it's those kind of banters that really like make me go, yes, I want to see this kind of conversation. It's so simple. And yes, I already knew what the card was. It's Hatham from the Assassin's Creed.
It gives all your knights protection from assassins.
And it's stupid, and it's funny.
And I've always been the player at the table who like will say, I want to see that deck. Like I want you to play that play right now. I want to see it. Like come on, I want some of it.
I want you to hit me.
My reason for doing it has always been to kind of like encourage people. Yeah. Like especially if I notice someone doing really well with a deck or it's really clicking for them, I'm like, I want to see that deck. I want to see you keep shining with that deck because I think I've created this unrealistic expectation in a little bit for our group that I'm the kind of person who wants to test absolutely random things. not every player is good at that.
No.
And I think and I may have set a wrong example that it's always okay to test something new, but I think there's generally times where you need to like play the decks that you want and like test them and make them better. And so I do try my best to be like, I want you to play that deck. Like, show me that deck. That deck's always fun to play against.
And we've had this conversation off camera and everything too, like just him and I, where I believe you were like, am I playing too many decks? And I was like, maybe we should like narrow it down to 10. And then you started playing 10, and then you're like, am I playing too many decks? And I was like, maybe we narrow it down to 5. And you found like your
you narrow it down to 1.
Right? No, you
buy a pre-con off the shelf. No,
that's a different story. You might see some shorts later. I think that's why we're gonna do that. I think that's how we're gonna. I was gonna say that off camera, and I totally forgot before you hit record to talk about that. Anyways, back to the show. So yeah, I think that you find you a good play group. B, don't be afraid what you want to play it. If you want to play Stasis, hey, you might be a menace.
Bribe your friends with food. That always helps.
That does help a lot, actually. If you don't have friends, find homeless. I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Yeah, we kind of have an odd situation around us where we have multiple shops or places that we could play Commander at. Yeah. But I don't think all people have that. And so, like, I honestly haven't looked a ton into Spell Table. I've always wanted to, but I've just kind of never needed to because I've always had people around me to play. But if you don't have that, like, get into that community because I know it's huge. I know people who do it a lot and they love it. So it's like, find those communities where you feel welcome. I've always found that if you have someone you enjoy playing the game with, it's a lot better. It's going to happen where you're going to have to find time, or it's going to take time to find people you enjoy playing with. But I've honestly always found, like, when you find someone you enjoy playing with, the game gets way better.
For sure. I think that for us, it was a little weird because when we kind of all got back together, when we started this group, and when we talked about this before, it was not necessarily strange, but different because, like, I played for several years beforehand. You played for several years beforehand as well. Everybody's else had their...
threatened multiple people to play Commander, and they did.
This is very true. You had a knife to my throat. No, I'm kidding. Everybody had their own background, and I think that us kind of just shoveling each other into a room at a table with cardboard and sleeves, like, has really just brought us closer together as friends, but also just as players in general. I think that we kind of just feed off of each other, kind of like to your point.
Because we've said before, I think on the podcast and in other places, like, for us, the table where we play isn't just a table to play. It's a table to kind of hang out and bond and just talk about life and what's going on and kind of grieve together and be happy together and have joy together and have pain together. Like, those are the important parts. And you don't get that all the time. But I think when you have a good group, you get that.
Oh, for sure. And if you are curious of like, oh, I never played Magic before, I never played Commander, first off, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm very surprised this is the first thing you clicked on, but thank you.
Second, Commander is probably still going stronger than ever, I would say. My friend Braden, who I got into Magic, and he has taught all of his like doctor friends about Magic and whatnot, or they've already played in the past, or they're bringing it back and whatnot, like, because Commander has brought them to do that. Like, I mean, I think every single time I talk to him, it's like once a week. He's like, yeah, I got this other guy playing now. And I'm like, goodness gracious.
I play a neurosurgeon in Magic and I beat him. Does that mean I'm smarter than him?
Yeah, I mean, yes. But anyways, that's not that hard, though. They're not that good, I promise.
Today is kind of an odd podcast, right? Because we're coming off of, well, groundbreaking, right, news. Crazy. Not once, but twice. Crazy
stuff.
And I kind of wanted this episode to just be a little catch-all. Talk about some random stuff, just kind of get us back into the swing of things. The next topic I had up for us, which I think is it's an interesting topic. I'm going to look at this through the lens of personally and not for the channel, because obviously I brewed a lot of things for the channel. But are there any decks, Commanders or specifically, or deck styles or deck archetypes that we haven't played that we want to? And if not, why haven't you? Is it because the Commander isn't available yet? Is it for a particular reason? Whatever. I didn't really prepare anything for this. It was just an idea I had on paper.
Great.
Do
you want me to go first?
If you want to. Is it or I can go first? It's up to you.
Wow, I stuttered.
It was a big digress, wasn't it?
It was.
I still find myself needing something with landfall.
Oh,
I'm just not there yet. Every commander I've tried for landfall, I've liked, but I've never loved.
What happened to your Omnath Elementals deck, man?
Gosh, what a deck that was.
That was so much fun.
You see, friends, let's
we're talking 3-color teamer.
Let's rein in
Omnath,
here, okay?
Not 4.
That deck, which I did generally enjoy, got taken apart when I built Miram.
Because teamer.
Because I was like, how many teamer decks can you really have?
I mean,
the answer is a non-zero amount.
You have 5 Naya decks, that's fine. I'm just kidding.
Not anymore. Anyway, it's a deck I've thought about. You know, I've been messing around with the Necro Bloom ever since I brewed it for the channel. And it's a deck I don't mind because it has the graveyard stuff. My problem, if I'm 100% honest, is like the landfall deck that is speaking out to us right now is another Naya deck.
Is that Hazazian?
It's Hazazian. It's a deck that I have yet to try that I really wanted to try.
I was about to ask, yeah.
It's got all the token stuff I love. It's got all the landfall stuff I love. It's got the deserts, which I think is kind of fun. It's a fun land archetype. There's a lot of really cool cards that get played in that deck that just don't get played elsewhere. So it's one that's up on the list for me to try and take a shot at. But I wonder if it's just because my problem with landfall generally is that landfall tends to have sub-themes that I just have in other decks. Like Necro Bloom is a tokens-based, landfall deck. I have tokens decks.
What?
Yeah, like you get into a deck like Tatty Over, right? That's just draw. There are other decks that have draw. I think my problem with landfall most of the time is you need some other sub strategy to support it to get it across the finish line. Yeah. And I think for me, there's just other decks that do that thing better that make me want to just play that. I don't know, and maybe that's because I haven't found the right one yet. But
I can bounce off of that with the land talk. I've always been interested in gates and playing mazes in to win the game. Yes, Nine Fingers Keen is a thing. I just feel like you lose so many gates when you drop from either 5 or 4 colors to just 3. And I know we got some good additions and whatnot, and they're
Baldur's
fine.
Gate brought a ton.
And they did. And they're great. I don't think they're bad.
You technically got one in Modern Horizons 3.
You did, yes. You got one in Modern Horizons 3. We got one in somewhere else. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I've noticed that, like, what else is that deck going to do other than gates? But for Nine Fingers Kane, at least, because that's all she's caring about. But like, there's not a lot to put into the deck anymore, so it's a really big struggle for me to try to figure that out. I don't want to say I want a 5-color one. I think I just want more gates, and then I'd probably build the deck because Sultai's good no matter what. But
have you considered any 4-color options?
I've considered like just throwing a Traxa together or like a Thrasios Temna deck with gates as the theme. Or actually, I had a Vile Smasher Thrasios deck that I thought about.
The combination I was thinking.
Yeah, because it was fun too. I thought about that. And it works, and I think it actually does pretty decently, at least in tests. I haven't obviously put it on
I'll
paper.
say the thing that no one wants to say. 4-color Omnath probably wouldn't be bad either.
Yes, but you lose black, so you lose Nine Fingers Keen. You lose a couple other pieces that are decent.
No, but all your main gates payoffs are in Teamer.
Kind of. Not really.
You have Gatebreaker Ram. You have the gate ramp spells that are in green. Mm-hmm. You have the gate damage spell that's in red.
That's only one, though.
You have that blue gates thing that's there.
There's like 3 blue cards that care about gates. There's like 1 red. There's like several green. There's like 2 black. I don't know. There's like none white. Anyways, yeah, gates is a fun time. So every time I get on Scryfall and put gate, it's really fun because Investigate comes up. Anyways, another deck actually really want, but don't know where it needs to go. I want to do a Dragons deck, but I want to do a really different Dragons deck. And it can be in red. I don't think that's fine, or I think that's bad. I definitely don't want to do a Tarka, even though I've done a Tarka.
I'll give you an example of a Dragons commander. Like, I brewed it for the channel, and I thought it was interesting.
Is it Savitri?
No, Savitri does actually look like a ton of fun, but I was thinking more Rith from Dominaria United.
Yeah, I thought about Rith as well.
Like, Naya Dragons just seems like a great idea because a lot of those cruel dragons are just so good. Remember, dragons are so far centered in red, right? So you have to have red. In my opinion, you really have to sell me why you shouldn't have green because you get so much extra added benefit for green. For sure. I mean, obviously, my opinion of who the best commander for Dragons decks is in Teamer, but there are other options elsewhere. I don't know. I think dragons are just such a fun archetype because they
are.
They pair being really good in combat with having evasion, which is an important thing.
They are, and I think that they're great. Creatures in general, I think they are the best creature type in general still. In my opinion, I think you could agree with that, right?
On just the creatures alone?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I think if angels had the support dragons had, I think it'd be a tight race, because I think the fact they gain life so efficiently is something that's
so
very difficult to deal with. But I think dragons are really good at what they do, especially how much support they have.
But since they are so good, what bothers me so much, and I'll talk about this one in a minute, but what bothers me so much is since they are so good, they're gonna probably beat down a table, I would say more times out of 10 than you're expecting. And that's not a big deal or anything. My issue with that is I just don't want the same thing to happen with like Dragon and whatnot. Like everybody sees Dragon and they're like, oh, I think, and that's I think what I'm wanting is like a spicy Dragon commander. So like one that I pulled up is Ravaz of the Claw. He's from Dominaria United as well, and he's a red-black menace 3/3 for 3. You can tap him, you can add 2 mana of any combination of colors. You can spend this mana only to cast dragon creature spells. Pretty dope. You get a little bit of ramp there. Once during your turns, you may cast dragon creature spell from your graveyard, which is nice.
Great ability.
So you can just reoccur those dragons.
There's kind of that black, right, coming through the recursion, yeah.
And then whenever you cast dragon creature spell from your graveyard, it gains when this creature dies, exile it. So it's pretty nice because you get that cool reoccursion effect. But I think it's still just like dragon beat down stuff, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I liked Miram when it came out, but then
it's a combo nightmare.
But then you busted it into pieces, and I was like, oh my gosh.
The sad part is I really didn't like. I did what I thought made the most sense, and it busted into half.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah.
It's like I didn't even go chasing it. It just happened. So it's like it's scary to think what I could do if I actually chased it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I just don't want that. I don't want this like crazy combo. Same with Revise. I mean, there's probably some crazy like red and black dragons that care about like ETBs and and whatnot. So I mean, you could probably bust that in half too. So I don't know. I'm not tinkering with it. It's just one of those things. I'm like, that'd be cool.
Another style that I really liked, that kind of got reinvigorated for me when I brewed Arabella a few weeks back for Duskborn, was this Boros kind of white weenie go wide, style deck. Like I've talked plenty of times on and off screen about how I love Jetmir to pieces, but it kind of misrepresents token decks sometimes because it's not actually about tokens. It's just about getting to 9 and slamming into your opponents.
Which you've done multiple times.
I had a lot of fun with my brew with an Impacall for Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and Arabella's kind of up the same vein. And what I think I realized after I brewed Arabella is that Caesar could probably do what I want it to do with those kind of cards. It just needed some tweaking. It needed some kind of refocus. It kind of needed what a deck like I built Jetmir to do does so well, which is get so much value on attack. I mean, I built Jetmir to try to get value on attack. When you're attacking, you're gaining those creatures and you're creating the disadvantage for your opponents there. I think that's something I thought about for Caesar, but I don't think it ever really connected in my head. And so my most recent version that I've been working on that's going to come back to the table soon, I hope that I can take that kind of a Nimpacall Arabella, just like low to the ground, get value on attacking, make a token every combat, get in there, type of gameplay. Yeah. I hope I can bring to Caesar. And I think I was trepidatious at first because I wasn't sure how I was going to make Caesar different from Jetmir. But I think I realized that not only does Caesar become a laser cannon if your opponents can't take it off the table, but it has the ability to just kind of care about aristocrats and still pay it off really well.
Yeah.
Right? There are things like Alasso Core or some of these legends that are kind of aristocrat-y, but they'll also just pay off if you're making tokens, right? If you're dumping 8 tokens in a turn, Alasso Core is still gaining you 8 life a turn, which is not nothing.
Yeah.
The thing I like about Arabella specifically in that deck is I had kind of from Caesar, I I think originally I built the deck to be a get as many buffs on all your creatures so they hit hard type thing. But I think if you're really leaning into this Arabella style on that side of it, you don't want to. You want to just dump as many creatures as you can, and then you can really take advantage of some of those things, whether it be something like Delny, where creatures on their power 2 or greater can't be blocked, right? Or creatures with power 2 or less, their trigger abilities happen at additional time. Obviously, for something like a Nimbicall, that'll hit its ceiling right at a certain point. But the point is that like there's other ways to kind of approach this style, and I think it just kind of took brewing some other decks for me to realize that. The other one that I've had sitting in my back pocket for a while, that I brewed for the channel for OTJ, I think, and I think I've finally come back around to finding my angle on, was Anhello. This is a commander I tried to think about before. Anhello is kind of my attempt to bring my Kest list back without being super oppressive, because that's just ended up what it was. But I kind of wanted, and my dream for Anhello is to be the Avengers of like spell payoffs. Like all these legendary creatures that just do things when you cast spells, and you just dump them all in one list and profit. It's my way of making a spell slinging deck that's also a tokens deck that isn't Ovika, because Ovika is just its own separate. I say that because it's sitting. You can't see it on camera, but it's sitting right here. Because Ovika is its own animal, and it's a very different deck, and it's like I miss that. You know, I want to have Gisa and the new Garo from OTJ and Lord of Nazgul all sitting on the battlefield at one time and see what happens. I want these fun interactions between these legendary creatures that make things when you cast spells or do things when you cast spells. I kind of want to see what that looks like in a deck, and I think it could be fun.
It's pretty sweet. I like those ideas.
He likes those ideas on paper. He's not going to like them.
I mean, I won't try them. I'm not a token player. I think what I'm going to have to dive more into is to the stacks pieces, which will be my second point. My first point, though, is what I've talked to you about recently, is I don't know why, but the card food chain is just always on my mind. And I hate that it is, because it's the card.
Guys, don't worry. He finally broke food chain. It had never been broken yet, but he finally broke it.
What did I say with it? Oh, I sent over, I have it, what's her name? Or his name, whatever. Sakar Deathkeeper. It's a what is that? Jund. Golly, I'm dead today. It's a Jund person that says whenever a creature enters your graveyard from the battlefield, you get a non-creature. Yeah, non-token. Thank you. You get a 3/1 token, which is.
I said, "Oh my gosh, we broke food chain."
We broke food chain and tokens now. Yay!
It's like that Reddit meme when like anyone posts a new combo that has a classic combo card, and everyone's like, "Wow, we broke it! Finally, who would have thought?"
I was like, I don't know. Well, when you said Jund for food chain, I was like, well, I don't want to do, insert deck.
Everyone's favorite dragon, anyway.
Or Corvold, yeah, basically. So I was like, let me just start finding like the old ones. I love doing that. I love finding the old commanders and then just being like, what can I do with that?
Those commanders that hurt your eyes to read. Yeah.
I'm like, what can I do with that? And what's funny is Sarkar got a reprint like Commander Masters and some other stuff too, but. Like, I saw its Cold Snap version. It's, like, the old style art that I love. I love old cards. I don't know why. But anyways, I was like, wow, that'd be a lot of fun. I have no idea if I'm going to do that, because the second point is what I think I need to dive more into is those dumb stacks effects. Only because our table doesn't have those all the time. And I think when I saw...
No, every time I played them, everyone's yelled at me. So you need to represent this one.
No, it's only Draenith Magistrate, no. You know it.
It is only Draenith Magistrate.
So, anyways, that card is stupid. I will never. No, I'm kidding. I can't say I'll never play that card. But anyways, what I also liked though is when I played a Xiao Jun deck when that came out, and I played it for probably like 3 weeks, and it was fun.
It was a good deck.
It's fine. I mean, it might come back at some other point, like some different way. But what I saw with it was I was not realizing what it could really do. And artifact stacks are crazy, by the way, if you didn't know. First off, welcome to the show.
Welcome to Magic.
Artifact stacks are crazy, and I was like trying to figure out my mind around all this. I remember there was one time I thought I had my infinite combo, and you were like, no, you don't, because of this other stacks piece that stops you from doing the thing that you're trying to do, and I'm like, holy cow, you're right.
Man, if you thought artifact stack suits were crazy, you would love enchantment stack pieces. So
that's kind of what I'm getting into. Yeah, so like, what I also was starting to think about was like, we don't see enough.
There's nothing like putting a table under deafening silence and you realizing there's nothing you can do.
We don't see enough like rule of law, deafening silence. We don't see enough blood moons.
We did, but the deck it was in was not good for our table.
Which one was that?
Winota.
Oh, that was Winota.
Yeah, this was regular Commander Winota. This was without. I mean, this wasn't a stacks Winota. This was just Winota that played a couple stacks pieces.
Yeah, that's bad.
That deck is still brutal.
That deck is hard. I don't remember what you.
Everyone keeps thinking. It keeps telling me they think they could beat it with removal, and I'm like, okay, like you know.
Hey, I keep on saying all you need is like one board wipe, and that will put you in a better spot. You will not win, but you will be put in a better spot.
I don't think so. There's so much free protection now.
No, yeah, there is.
I mean, you have multiple free protection spells now between Flawless Maneuver and then Flare of Fortitude. And that's not without things like Clever Concealment that could still save your board. It's brutal now. Yeah. I think it. But that's just one of those decks that like we knew what it was before. Yeah. We knew what it was before we took the field. You know what I mean? Like
listen. That One-Armed Wonder, she's crazy. She crazy. But yeah, no, I think I'm gonna.
This is my continued petition for Wizards to change the arena version of Winota back. If I have to play against all these dumb Brawl commanders, at least let me have some fun with Winota. Yeah. But anyway.
But yeah, I think I'm going to start brewing some more Staxy decks, I suppose. I want to try like different colors than like the normal like blue and white and stuff like that. I want to try doing like the collector oofs where they kind of like shut down artifacts, and then like try more of the blood moon effects where it's like, haha, I messed up your lands. No, I'll not play Armageddon. I'm not a degenerate.
We don't play land removal. We play player removal.
I'm just a heathen, okay? There's a difference.
We remove players, not lands. There's a difference.
Yeah, so I think that'll be fun to try. I'm excited to get around that. I'm excited to put Derevi into just like this nasty stacks piece.
Excited to resolve spells.
Me too. What's the next question? You have a fourth, right?
Yeah, I figured we'd finish up. I figured we'd probably hit this a little bit, but I think it's important to. Mainly, I want to hear what your answer is to this question more than mine, because I think I talk about mine a lot. But the question I have here is, why do we love the decks that we play?
I'm playing birds, baby!
/ what keeps us coming back to the cardboard well? You know, what keeps us coming back to that...
Got it.
That well of dreams.
I'm playing birds, baby! No.
Mikey's that meme where it's like, why are you the way that you are? And it's that kid screaming in the backseat. It's just Mikey with birds.
Birds. Just like, so if you haven't already discovered, I'm an old man at heart. I enjoy birds. I don't know why.
Have you tried birds?
Have you tried birds? No.
I did for the channel. It was solid.
It's a smack, bro. It's great. But no, that is one reason Why do I love the decks I play? Well, what's funny is I'm in a weird spot where I'm trying to constantly figure out what I want to play every single week, which is fun for me, not fun for everybody else because they get to hear about it. So sorry, by the way.
Why is it me? I mean,
because it's always you. I'm like, what do I want to play this week? And you're like, just shut up and play something.
Just put cards on the table.
I'm like, okay. But no, I think it's also, I hate that I'm going to say this. I really do.
I love that he's going to say it.
And I think a lot of people are also going to hate that I'm going to say this. I actually don't mind when there's a secret layer or there is a whole set-ish thing that is something I can grasp onto. Like the Transformers thing. I love Transformers. I actually have every morning started watching Transformers with my son.
Yeah, Josh's Megatron deck did pretty well the last time that came out.
So, I mean, I put together a Joda Transformers deck, and I literally called it Go Play With Your Transformers.
Okay.
It's literally what it is.
He's not wrong.
And it seems like a ton of fun on test. I can't wait to print it out and get it going, and then maybe buy the cards for it, because I think I should. But anyways, and it's like with Roy and the Assassin's Creed thing, when that was going on, like, I think that, like, that's his love for it, and I enjoyed Assassin's Creed when I played it, so it also kind of helped. But what I've also loved, again, I love old cards, so, like, looking at an older commander like Sakar, what is that? That thing, yeah, I can't remember the names, I'm sorry. Or looking at, like, oh gosh, what is his name? It's the Naya commander that cares about auras.
The Uriel,
Earl.
something.
Earl. The Yeti, basically.
Earl, the guy with the warehouse down, the guy with
So they reprinted it in the horror movie thing. What is that? What was that thing called? That I don't know. But they did that, and I was like, oh man, maybe this is when I.
He's actually on my list to do over the next few weeks for the channel.
Well, if you want some help.
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. I was thinking like,
I haven't asked for help in the past, and I'll struggle my way through it like I did last time.
My first thought for that deck was, what could I make, and what kind of auras can I attach to this Yeti to just make everybody's life like just awful? So that might happen.
All that glitters, as it turns out, is pretty darn good.
Well, yes. If I want to smack out of somebody, yeah, for sure. I meant just make their life a living hell, and every time they draw a card, they just go, why did I draw this?
I want to keep an entire stack. I've never once considered playing a mill deck, except Blue-Black Horrors. You know, I always enjoyed my time
Captain
with Gathron. I recorded the Mind Skinner today, which is coming out way before this episode comes out. That would have been that. I'm going to keep it stacked, man. That deck seems like a meme, and I'm here for it.
It's so much fun. Like, when I saw that, I was like, I should do something with this. And then I asked you, and you were like, I think Josh has got dibs on it already. I'm like, dang it.
For the record, we call a lot of dibs that we don't end up taking. So
this is very true. I'll wait like probably 2 weeks, and then when he's like, I'm actually not going to build that, and I'm like, sweet. I'm here for it.
If you bring it to the table first, you win. That's how it works.
I wished. No.
For me, I mean, I talk about my main decks, you know, once a quarter, if not once half a year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going through them right now. I have them all coming out on the channel. I'm even doing my test box as well here through the end of the year. And I've tried my best in each of these videos to talk about why I actually like the deck, like what keeps me coming back to it, what I enjoy so much. I think for some of them, it's just the longevity. I try to pick commanders that are going to have new things coming for them, but also can do what I want.
That's something I look forward to.
You know, I think that's what I did specifically with things like Jetmir and Goreclaw and Alayla, was just try to find commanders that are always going to be able to play something new, try out something new. You know, changing out a couple cards for a couple new cards isn't going to kill the deck, but it's going to at least let you try something new. The other thing, as far as the rest of the decks go, it's just like, I think a lot of the times it's one of those things where it takes me a few games to really get my opinion down on something. And I think in the past I haven't truly given some decks that, so I'm excited to actually do that. Actually give decks a full run instead of just, you know, playing it once and going, this is broken, and throwing it to the side.
Yeah.
You know?
It's almost what I did with Nicholas, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was, not that it's broken, it's not. But I was like, well, I lost Dockside, which I was really sad about for that. I mean, it didn't do a crazy ton, but it ends the games, like I talked about in our last episode about it. But I was like, man, like,
there was one other thing.
What else
like,
do I do with it?
I have noticed, like, the play group has definitely gotten, you know, we're not all banging 9.5 decks by any means, but the play group is getting a lot better in how they're brewing their decks and how they're playing them. And so I'm happy that I can play some of the decks that maybe hit a little hard more, because it's not as bad as it was.
You mean like Winota?
Yeah, no, I still think that's a no.
It didn't hit as bad. It still hit very hard. But we didn't...
But something like Ovika, which has been a menace at the table,
yeah.
You know, I think is a little bit less bad now than it was before. But I'm even still learning ways to find my fun in it. You know, I hate that tokens are my shtick, but the truth is just the thing I enjoy. It's the thing that I think... I love all these different approaches to it. You know, Ovika does it with spell slinging. Alayla does it with... enchantments more than artifacts, but you have the option of both. Jetty does it with just using them to reach a goal, you know. And it's interesting to me. I hope that I find another archetype that I like just as much. I don't want to always be the guy that plays tokens, but I think it's my other philosophy has been, if it's something I'm good at, why stop doing it? Why not keep iterating? Why not keep getting better? Why not keep trying to find my niche? Why not be the crazy tokens guy on YouTube? That's just really what I strive to be.
You know, they call it a shtick, right?
No.
Because it sticks to you. But anyways, all right, done with the dad jokes. I mean, I think for you, from the outside looking in, of course, I always see you as just the hyper aggro player, no matter what you're playing.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
And it's your thing, right? It's what you want to do, and that's.
I love making mid-range decks, but making them aggro.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know the biggest thing is I look at your Goreclaw deck, Rock Goreclaw deck. Both of them, you know, do different things, similar things, and blah blah blah. But at the end of it, like, since you're the pilot, like, you are going to slam creatures, turn them sideways if they don't have vigilance, and then kill people. Or unalive them, sorry. But, yeah.
We're too far gone at this point.
Yeah, true. Yeah, boy. I'm sorry.
I think, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all got to find what keeps us coming back, right? And it could take time. I don't expect anyone to build their first deck and that be their absolute favorite thing that they've ever built, ever, and then be done with building decks. In fact, I think a lot of times the punishing part of Commander is the first deck you build may not always be your favorite, or it may not even be the best you've ever touched, or it may not even be good.
You might come back to it every once in a while.
And you have to accept that and know that you're getting better at something. It's just like anything in life. You learn more by doing it more. And I hope that I'm still growing. I hope that I don't get to a point where I've plateaued and I'm not approaching the game that way. I want to be a student of the game. I want to keep growing. And I at the moment feel like I'm playing with people that would tell me if I wasn't doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say this, like, when it comes to like your first commander and whoever you build around and whatnot, like my first commander that I technically owned was the Ready. Like my first commander deck I built from scratch was Xenagos, but I bought the 2013 Precon back in 2014 with Zarevi in it. I was like, wow, this looks really interesting. I liked the whole tapping, untapping thing. There was like a blink minor commander in there too, so that was fun. I was trying to figure out all the different strategies for it. I threw Derevi into 99, threw him back into the command zone, then all the other stuff, and threw it to the side for almost 10 years now, and then finally came back to him because of A, birds, but B, just because it made the most sense. It's what I know.
Got a pretty printing in Liberal Commander.
It did, and it's also what I know, and it fits my playstyle pretty well. So
at the end of the day, I mean, I hope you take away that regardless of the news, regardless of the bans, regardless of Wizards taking over the format, and there being some trepidation from some people and some trust from other people, I think I'm half and half. I have trepidation, but I'm also like, well, Wizards designs the game. They've managed to at least not screw up one other format, so what's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean?
What, Pauper?
Yeah, no, I was going to say Modern, but the truth is that they've screwed that up too. It was a joke. It was a joke, you see?
I was going to say, did you see MH3?
It was a joke, you see? Anyway, we, as Hometown Commander, and me as Millzy, am very excited about the game. I'm stoked about Commander. I haven't lost my hope. Yeah, there have been things I've questioned. Yes, there's been cards that have come out that have made me kind of go, oh, okay, what you got over there? Anyway, but I love the game. It's what keeps me coming back to it. It's what will continue to keep me coming back to it. And I think for as long as my passion for brewing and making decks and wanting to play decks is here, Millzy Brews will continue. It'll stay active, and it's stayed active for a long time. I mean, I made a lot of episodes when I wasn't getting anybody to watch them, and I'm happy every day that subscriber number goes up. I mean, I'm sure even if I mention the number right now, by the time this episode comes out, it'll probably be 60 more than the number that I mentioned, and I love that.
You know, you alone have almost been doing this for like 2 years.
I have.
Like, together, on and off, definitely not, but you...
I mean, I've put a lot of smashing my head into the wall. You know, I think daily I think about, like, what can I do better? What can I do with this? What can I do with that? But my gut just tells me keep doing what you're doing, because clearly something's working.
Yeah.
And I look online, and I say this because I if anyone in the comments can prove me wrong, I'd love to happily have you prove me wrong, but I do not think there is another channel that's posting as consistent as we are on Deck Techs.
Deck Techs, absolutely not.
We are blowing the Magic world out in Deck Techs.
He is doing a fantastic job on that. I'm
blowing him out.
I'm so happy.
There are guys that may post them and get more views, but they are not posting more than me. They're not posting as consistently.
Well, that's great. Hey, you know, gameplay's coming soon.
It is. I know we said that multiple times.
We're gonna make it happen, dadgummit. If it already hasn't happened.
If there wasn't that lawsuit, that one guy would have been out by now, and that's the...
Whoa, that happened? I'm good, man. You good?
As it turns out, when you get a cease and desist to stop all content with somebody who's getting that, like that.
And with that...
That's news I didn't even know. Mikey's like, eek. Well...
I'm gonna go now.
So that's all we got for this week, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. We're hoping to do this more often. If you have any ideas for what you want to hear us yap endlessly about, please let us know in the comment section below. If you've been here this far, comment. That's not. I can't say that. Comment.
I can't wait to hear what that was.
I always said comment Daddy Watsy in the comments. As much as I want you to, please do that. Comment Daddy Watsy in the comments because I think it's gonna be hilarious. And I don't think anyone's actually going to do it. But if you do, I can't wait.
Absolutely.
And you know why I can't wait? Because I'm not going to remember it. That's going to be the best part.
Like, why do all these people keep commenting Daddy Watsi?
Why are people just commenting Daddy Watsi? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not posting this one.
Why are people out here simping for Watsi?
I'm not posting this one.
Anyway, that's all we got today. Thank you all so much for watching. And we will catch you on the flippity flip.